Well, Scott Galloway and some female dating coach are going to talk about why men are having such a hard time finding a wife in today's market. So I took this video as advice for incels. I'm getting more and more into this subject on advice for incels, men that really, I think an incel is somebody who would like to have a wife and can't get one. So let's take a listen to the video and see if they come up with any good answers for the men. And I'll give a couple thoughts too at the end here. Hey, if you're liking this content, give me a like, subscribe, and comment below, please. Let's get to it.
Is you have a bunch of women competing for the same men, and then a bunch of guys get ignored. But what I also see is that those top guys are having a hard time deciding. So I feel like in my coaching practice as a dating coach, I'm working with a lot of women who say, what do I do? I've changed my profile the way you said I should. I took your class, but I still feel like there's just not enough great guys. And then I work with these CEO men who are having such a hard time choosing. And so I think we really have this exacerbated problem where so many women are competing for the same men, and then a bunch of guys are getting ignored. And
And so the women just can't find enough great guys. I mean, this is a huge problem. Women can't find enough great guys. And actually, when you look at the video and you kind of say like, "Oh, I thought we were talking about men here, not women," but nah, no, that's always the focus here. But let's keep going.
And then what ends up happening is, where do those guys go? And they go online. That's what you
They go
see.
to porn.
They go to porn, or they go to Reddit. I mean, I love Reddit, but they're really going to some of these red pill communities. And so what you're seeing now is just men really opting out of society. So when you go back to that stat, 1 in 7 young men in the UK is NEET, not in employment, education, or training. They have just opted out. And as Scott says, there's nothing scarier than a single man, a young single man. And so we are just creating a lot of these angry young single men who are saying, well, this is rigged against me. And so that's why I am worried about the rise of people like Andrew Tate. And if we wonder where,
Hold on a second now. Are are these young men really that angry? I mean, boy, I know a lot of younger men who I don't know if I know a lot of incels, but who might classify themselves. I know a few incels, but I know a lot of younger men. They don't seem all that angry to me. They seem quite docile. Like they I don't know. Where's this trope that yes, they're all angry, they're coming after us, blah blah blah, and then oh, we throw in and they're turning to red pill content. The red, whatever that is. Does anybody even know what that is? I mean, oh, it's Andrew Tate. They're turning to Andrew Tate, the incredibly rich guy, five-time world kickboxing champion who has all kinds of women and whatever else. And I guess they're wanting to become like him. Like, like almost no one could become like that guy. But I guess they're all going to him. This is the narrative that they're selling of why there's so many incels here. Okay. All right. Well, I'm tracking. I don't know if I believe it, but I'm tracking.
where are the dads? Where are the men? Well, men are finding these father figures, but they're finding them online, and they're not the father figures that I would choose for the majority of men. And so I'm really worried.
Oh no, they're not the father figures that the lady in the purple suit would choose for these men. Well, we got a crisis on our hands then. That now, of course, of course, I'm being sarcastic. But what? Who cares who you would choose as mentors for these men? Let's see who. Let me ask now, who would she choose? Hopefully, she's going to go into that. Who would she choose for mentors so that these men can step up and get themselves a woman? Here, let me see.
Worried about this because I feel like women are saying, guys, you need to step up because I can provide and I don't need that from you. And guys are not prepared to rise to the occasion.
What
Guys, you got to step up because women don't need a man to provide for them. Now that is actually true. I do believe, or I do agree with her that women don't need men like they used to. Women can make their own money. I mean, women, they want to have kids, they can go down to the sperm bank if they want to bad enough and just, find a donor. I have a family member who did that. Me and my wife both are scratching our heads about that. Like, what on earth is going on here? But women are doing that too. So yeah, they don't need a man. So, and maybe this is some red pill content here that men are essentially a luxury good, because women, it's like buying a car when you don't need a car for transportation. Let's say that you already can use your dad's Chevy, but you have a lot of money. Then you're buying a car as a luxury car. You want a Mercedes, you want a BMW. Men are kind of a luxury item now. They don't need them, but they want them, but they want the top guys here because it's not as if they have to have one to survive. That's an interesting thing. So I agree with this woman on that. So what are men to do then? What are they? They can't provide, they're not needed to provide the finances in many cases. So what are they going to do then if they can't bring that to the table? We'll see.
What are women looking for? Scott talked about height.
Yeah. So I would say, I work at Hinge, but I do think that apps have perpetuated this issue around height, because if you can set your height filter to something, then you might set it higher. And then it's as if you have the dating app as a club and you're literally having bouncers that prevent a bunch of guys from even getting into the club. So many women in the US set their height filters at 6 feet, but only 14% of men in the US are 6 feet or taller. So what happens to the other 86% of men? And women are saying, where's my guy? It's like, well, he's not even showing up on your app. And so a huge thing that I push women to do is to change their height filters and just say they're.
Oh, okay. So the dating coach, she's actually telling women your standards are too high and you need to change your fit. If you want a 6 foot tall man, then you need to change your filters and blah, 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 blah. Okay, I guess that's good advice. Like, yeah, go with somebody that's maybe just taller than you somehow. It doesn't have to be 6 foot. Okay, I agree with that. I can't believe she's actually telling women to change their standards, but okay.
There is nothing that proves that you're going to have a successful long-term relationship if the guy is higher. I'm married to a short king. I love it. I feel like I really found this gem. And I think that so many women are missing out on great potential partners because of things like height.
Scott's point as well about
I'm married to a short king. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine a woman on national channel, national TV, I guess you call it national TV, an international channel calls her husband, who she should respect and reverence according to scripture. She calls him a short king. Wow. Wow. Okay. Now maybe she could just say, listen, I am taller than my husband, and he's a wonderful man whom I love submitting to. She could say something like that. No, I'm married to a short king. Wow. Can you imagine if a man got on here and was like, yeah, you know what? I love my wife. I'm married to a fat queen. Everybody's jaw would drop. They'd be like, what? But if a woman says, yeah, I got a short king, everybody applauds. Like, oh my, what on earth? Oh, the disrespect. All right.
they will date one of the men in the top 10%,
Yeah.
sleep with him potentially, and then that kind of adjust their standards and they expect all of the men to meet that standard. There isn't enough men to meet that standard, is there?
I haven't specifically heard that. I mean, there is a lot of evidence around assortative mating that people sort of have an internal sense of how attractive they are and that they end up with someone similar to that. But assortative mating is different than hypergamy, which is really this idea, as Scott said, that women tend to date horizontally and up and men date horizontally and down. So if you have 2/3 of women who are college grads and 1/3 of college grads who are men, and some of them are going to date women without college degrees, you truly do have this dating crisis where there's just not enough men to meet this hypergamous mating.
Again, you can't tell women to lower their expectations, but this is the reality.
Oh, you can't tell women to lower their expectations. Okay. No, maybe we should be telling women to lower your expectations. That maybe that's why there's a crisis of men not finding wives because women's standards are so high that no one can meet them. I mean, if Tom Brady can't keep a wife, I mean, what are the rest of us gonna do? Like, wow, Tom Brady. I mean, all right. Well, anyway, let's see what Scott has. Scott giving advice to the incel men. Okay, let's see. What is it?
When you ask a man if you could have a woman who had 80% of everything you wanted, 75% say, yeah, I'm on board.
Mhm.
When you say to a woman, a man has 80% of what you want, 75% say that's not enough. But if you, but even look,
Whoa. Wow, if that's true, that's crazy. That's great. Where are these coaches, teachers, preachers, maybe even? I don't know. Where are they? Where are they at telling women, hey, the standards are too high. If you're looking for the second coming of Christ, to be your husband, then he hasn't come back yet. And he probably wouldn't come for you if he didn't know. Actually, no, that's probably a blasphemous analogy. Scratch that. Don't put that. Nobody call my elders about that one. All right, let's listen on.
Look at the media.
Right.
What does the media tell a woman to do? He's out, but he doesn't open your door. He's not nice to his parent. You walk right out on that man. Like it's little. Every piece of media is you don't need him. You're a strong, independent woman. Pull the ripcord. You're out. And it is the basic kind of communication around this is you are a strong, independent, powerful woman. That is wonderful. And quite frankly, you don't need the imperfect man.
That's not that wonderful, really. To tell all women they're strong, independent women. No, that's not wonderful. Sorry, Scott. That's part of the problem. That's not wonderful. That's dumb. Okay.
And they're just not connecting. I read that on Tinder, a man of average attractiveness has to swipe right 200 times to get one coffee. And then 4 of those 5 coffees will ghost him. They will decide they don't want to meet him or they won't show up. That means a guy of average attractiveness has to swipe right 1,000 times to get one coffee. Now, what does that tell that guy? Women don't value me. Women make me feel rejected. And then they go online and they see these misogynists telling them it's not your fault. And these men become much more prone to misogynistic content.
They see these misogynists telling them that it's not your fault. Well, is it their fault, Scott? I mean, maybe these misogynists, maybe they're telling them true things. Now, that doesn't mean that you just walk away from women altogether and say, well, I'll never get married, so I'm giving up or something. Yeah, I don't agree with that. But they go to these misogynists and are they telling them things that are true? Like that? Anyway, okay. I don't know, whoever these I guess it's the Andrew Tate. He's the one.
And these men become much more prone to misogynistic content, much more prone to nationalistic content, blaming other people for the lack of economic opportunity. They start sequestering from society. I worry that we are literally evolved.
Nationalistic? How did we go from being a misogynist to being a nationalist? Now you can't. So you hate women and you love your country? I guess these are the 2 big problems. We've got men who are misogynists, they hate women, and they love their country. Hi. I guess this is just the modern left. Nothing makes sense, but okay.
Evolving a new species of asexual, asocial male. And if a man by the age of 30 hasn't either lived with someone or married someone, there's a 1 in 3 chance he's going to have a substance abuse problem.
Wow.
In addition, it goes so much deeper than that because if they don't develop the skills, the reason romantic comedies are 2 hours, not 15 minutes, hard. Mm-hmm. Like finding an attractive, intelligent woman, generally speaking, 75% of people who've been married longer than 30 years say in the beginning, one was much more interested in the other. It was almost always the man. Women are much choosier. The basis of evolution is seed trying to get everywhere, men, and women deploying a much finer filter to select the strongest, smartest, and fastest speed. So men need
Whoa, well, that's kind of bad, isn't it? Like men are much more interested in getting married than women are. Wasn't that kind of backward? I thought we were just talking about how men are bowing out of the market and just saying, no thank, because they've been listening to too much red pill content. And they're saying, no thanks. I think I'm out. And now we're saying that, oh, well, they're just not trying hard enough because men always have had to try harder to get married than women because women aren't interested in it, men are. Like, what kind of wacky dystopia are we living in here? Like, what? I mean, I guess that's true, but doesn't that need to change then, Scott? I mean, doesn't that sound like it's kind of messed up? Like, what? It sounds like what? Then I guess you're saying that women would rather have careers and bosses than have families and husbands, I think. And yeah, that's probably the case. I mean, if that's what it's coming down to, that is probably the case here in the modern day. That's sad.
Environment to demonstrate excellence. And you hear these women talk about, he was kind, he was good at work, I like the way he smelled, he was funny. Where do men demonstrate excellence? When they're not going to college, they're not going into an office because of remote work. Where do they're not going to church, they're not going to temple. Where does a woman have the opportunity to fall in love other than these baseline metrics? And you were talking about women say,
where does a woman have the opportunity to fall in love? Who cares? The question is, where does a man have the opportunity to fall in love? What? Oh my God. Everything is for the females. This is how we get a gynocentric world. Everything is for the females. But okay, well, let's listen on. Maybe Scott's got some good stuff for us. I don't know.
Hey, you've seen these TikToks. Over $100,000, that's not unreasonable. And over 6 feet, it's 2.2% of the male population. Women say, you've seen these TikToks, over $100,000, that's not unreasonable. And over 6 feet, it's 2.2% of the male population. So where do they fall in love? Where can a man demonstrate excellence? It used to be go to temple, 7 single women, 7 single men, and they kind of pair it off and worked it out. And online dating, similar to online e-commerce.
What is temple? Does this guy go to like a Hindu temple or something to meet some women? Like what? What's this temple stuff? Yeah, I'm going to temple. I've never heard. I mean, I live in the Midwest. I'm kind of a small town guy, not or at least not big city guy. I don't know anybody that's like, yeah, I went to temple to meet some chicks. What are you talking about? Like going to temple? I don't know. All right, maybe it was a place where Scott's at. It's different. I don't know where he's at.
Online rentals, it's created a winner take most, if not all, environment, and it's basically been amazing for attractive guys, attractive wealthy guys, tall wealthy guys. It's been amazing for them. For all the other guys, it's been a disaster, and it's been made it mildly.
Hey man, now hold on a second. It's always been amazing for attractive, wealthy guys to have their pick of the ladies in the 1700s and the 1800s and the 1900s and in the 2000s. That's always been the same. Like what kind of point is that to make that it's been amazing for them? It's always been amazing for. So okay.
For all the other guys, it's been a disaster, and it's been made it mildly shittier for every woman. The digitization of mating, I believe, has been a disaster. It's been bad for women. It's been disastrous for men.
Oh, okay, I got it. So it's been the same for men. The top guys get the women, and the bottom guys, they're not doing so great. But it's made it worse for the average woman. It's made it worse. Okay, so that's why it's a big deal here. Okay, it's men. Anyway, I still want to get back to what's our advice for the incels, the guys that want to get married. Where are we getting that advice at here? I want to know.
I want to talk about how the genders seem to be separating in a lot of important ways. We know from research around political affiliation that women are now on average 30% more liberal than men. So they are definitely experiencing political polarization. Then for the first time in history, more men are attending church than women. And when I started this research.
Oh, hey, man, I like this. Oh, boy, that's some good data. Men are attending church now, more so. Well, I guess that's not good necessarily more so than women, but just if we could get some men in the church, like, oh man, that's good. I like that. There's some coming to my church. I see some good men there. Yeah.
Research, I really came at it from this point of, is it just me or there are not as many eligible guys? But when I dug into this, I found that both genders really feel misunderstood. And so I asked men and women who has more power in relationships. So equal amounts, men and women said, oh, we have the same amount of power, 42% of that. But then what was so interesting is that 46% of men said women have more power and 46% of women said men have more power. So there's this huge feeling of, oh, the other gender has all of this power. And when I spoke to people, I want to tell you about 3 dating paradoxes that I saw. So the first dating paradox for men is this idea that now that women are providers, and do not need a man to take care of them financially, they really want guys to step up with emotional support. But here's the paradox.
Emotional support. Okay, so I don't need a man, but I need emotional support. Translation, let me translate. She's going to go into it, but let me translate. I need a man who gives me the tingles. He gives me the tingly feelings. I need that kind of man. And men, we know this. Men, I mean, if you want a woman, I think it's always been that way. I mean, maybe in the old days, it wasn't like that, but any day here in the last couple hundred years, yeah, women, they need somebody that's got some charisma. I mean, we know that. Come on.
They were not raised and they don't know how to give that emotional support or emotional availability. So we know women, even if they have the same number of friends as guys, the women are talking to their friends much more often. Women speak to their kids, even starting at a very young age. They use more emotional language with their daughters and their sons. So constantly we have this feeling where we're asking men to do something when they don't have the skills. I was talking to my friend David, and he said women are in graduate school when it comes to emotional conversations and guys are in 3rd grade. The other part of the paradigm.
Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. Women are in graduate school. How many women is it? Listen, I grew up with sisters. I used to hear all the stories that they'd come home with sitting around the dinner table. Do you know what that girl said to me? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm not talking to her again. And you know what? Blah, blah. All this backstabbing and gossiping and all this crazy nonsense. Oh, I'm getting her. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. If you call that emotional intelligence, and men, I mean, men, I guess, can get into some of that, but I think certainly, unless you're a complete dummy, you would agree that women do more of that. If you call that emotional intelligence and men are in kindergarten and women are in graduate school, well, okay. I, I have a term for it just called crazy nonsense that shouldn't even happen. Like that would be the term I would use, not emotional intelligence, but all right.
Paradox is that women are asking men to be more emotionally open, but then they get shamed when they do that. So we have this great quote from Brene Brown where she says, we beg guys to open up, we beg them to let us in, and then when they do, we can't stomach it. And I heard that over and over in my research. There's this quote where a guy says, a woman would rather see me die on the white horse than fall off of it. And so there's a sense that I have to be perfect. I have to be the masculine and the feminine, but I don't have the skills to do that. And women say that they want these guys to be emotional, but as soon as they show emotionality, it can freak those women out. So one guy that I spoke to for this said, I went on a few dates with this woman. At some point, I told her that my mom had had a suicide attempt. And the next day she texted me and said, I'm sorry, I can't see you. I cannot process your emotional trauma for you. And so guys are getting a lot of mixed messages. We want you to be feminine. We want you to support us. But when you do, it freaks us out. And so we don't want that. And
All right, so let me translate this. Yeah, it freaks us out, so we don't want it. Rah rah, six boom bah. This is a dating coach too. You'd think she would know something. Let me translate. Here's the translation. Right from the PostMillMan, right here. Here's the translation. Women don't know what they want. Women don't have a clue what they want. Here's what they want. At least is what it sounds like they want. They want a rich, confident, tall, good-looking man. That's what they want. How's that emotionally available nonsense? Get out of here. They want somebody to entertain them. Boy, I know. Let's. This stuff is so easy. It's not that hard. I mean, not that I'm out here getting all kinds of women or whatever, but I'm just saying, women like they want somebody to make them smile and entertain them, make them laugh, all that kind of stuff. They like that. Oh, this guy's kind of funny. Oh, well, he makes me feel good. Blah blah blah. He's not boring. You know, that's what they like. They like that stuff. Not he's emotionally available. Blah. What on earth? Like, anyway. All right.
digging into the research, and I want to look into this more, I think it's that a lot of women want emotional support. They want you to support them in their emotional journeys, but they're not as ready to have you open up in your emotional journey.
Can I put forward?
Oh, good. Oh, I like that. I like that. Here, let me translate that. Let me translate that from woman speak to whatever anybody can understand. Here it is. Women are interested in talking about themselves and they don't give a hoot about what's going on with you. Okay, let me translate that. Listen, when you when you're women, they just want to talk. Women love to talk. They want to talk to their man. This is what Chris Rock says. Man, it's funny. They want to talk to their man. But they don't want you to talk. They just want you to listen, listen. And listening means you ask her the correct questions so that she can run her mouth. That's emotional intelligence. This is the translation from you, okay? She don't care what's going on with you. She don't want to know what's going on with you. Actually, it would make her feel better if you are the perfect man who never has any problems. That would make her feel better so that she can tell you all her problems and you can go, oh, you don't say? Really? Go on. I don't believe it. Don't say. Oh my goodness, what are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. That's what they like. And then you give them a little story that makes them laugh or blah, blah, whatever. Okay, they like that stuff. There we go.
Thesis, I want you to respond to it because I haven't done the research. In marketing, we call it consumer dissonance, what people say they want, and then what they actually buy. And what women say they want is an emotionally in touch man, and what they want is a masculine man. And that they will articulate what they want in a man, and includes being more emotionally available, and then they want to have sex with a traditional masculine man. And what I hear from a lot of women, this is anecdotal evidence in Pulse Marketing, and you tell.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so Scott has given some good advice here. What women say they want and what they actually want are two different things. They do not want Mr. Emotional, blah, 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 blah guy. They want a traditionally masculine man. I like that from Scott. That's good. At least Scott knows what's going on here.
Tell me what the data says. But there's just so many single women in my age group, and it feels like there's literally no men in my age group. As bad as it is for people in their 20s and 30s, try being a woman in your 50s trying to date, right? And they tell me the same thing.
Who wants to date a woman in her 50s? Oh my goodness. I don't know. Maybe if you're a 7-year-old man, you want a woman. I don't know. Yeah.
These are liberal, progressive, educated women. They say, by the way, I like a manly man.
Yeah.
And they say it under their breath. So there's what supposedly is stated around, I need more emotional availability, someone to touch with their feelings. But what the research shows is they want a guy with facial hair who's still, women are still very attracted to traditional masculine attributes.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're just in such a hard moment because you have women who are saying, I don't want
All right. Scott's passing on some good stuff. I like that. Scott's telling some truth there. I like
to
that.
date a guy who earns less than me. And you might think, okay, well, the data hasn't caught up with the dating. If more women are in higher education and more women are earning more, then maybe you're going to be the one who earns more in your relationship. But what they feel like is projecting out, I'm going to end up doing most of the housework, most of the childcare. I might as well get a guy that can contribute financially. So they don't want to change their expectations around that. And so I think we truly are in a moment where women.
Wrong. They don't want a guy who makes more than they do because, well, I'm going to do the childcare. I'm going to do the housekeeping. So I might as well get a guy who makes more than me. Wrong. No, that's totally wrong. Women for all of time have wanted a guy who makes more than them. That's how it is. This is that's trying to rationalize, oh, well, because I do so much housekeeping and because I'm going to raise the children, blah, 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 blah. Well, I might as well get one. Get out of here.
Men are being asked to do more masculine things and men are being asked to do more feminine things. And I think a lot of that is progress, but it also seems to be creating a lot of confusion in the dating world.
Yeah, so I was just thinking.
Yeah, a lot of that's progress. Men are doing what women used to do, and women are doing what men used to do, and it's progress, except 2024, we had the lowest number of marriages on record, and divorce rate is at a, almost all-time high. Actually, they say the divorce rate's going down because nobody's getting married. So and so yeah, all these things are good, except yeah, it just doesn't work. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I coach a lot of young men, and occasionally women ask me for dating advice. And you coach, it sounds like a lot of both. And first thing I say to men is I ask them, like, would you want to have sex with you? Oh, all right. Are you in shape? What do you look like naked? Do you have a plan? You don't have to be rich now, but do you have a plan? Right? Have you found means of being confident? Can you demonstrate kindness and excellence across anything? And the only advice I give women is second coffee. And that is, maybe it wasn't great. I mean, if you don't like the guy and you're just like turned off, fine. But
wow, the only advice I give women is second coffee, meaning just give the guy a second chance. Let me translate that. Meaning women are just sugar and spice and all things nice. They're just wonderful. They're so awesome. They're perfect the way they are. They're beautiful. Blah blah blah. We just lie to women. They're like, if there's a woman who hasn't had a date in a year, you might say, well, what Scott say? Well, do you think anybody would want to get you in bed? Like, I mean, if you're 400 pounds, blah, blah, blah. Would Scott say that? No. Babe, you're beautiful at any weight, blah, 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 whatever. Like we wouldn't. Now, obviously, they should be getting married before they get into bed. Hello. Okay. This is a man of God here. Come on. But, with that same line of thinking that he was saying, it was like, okay. But now women, oh, you're just perfect, baby. Just give these guys another chance. I mean, they're all dogs. I mean, they're all just boring. So they're a dime a dozen. Just, if one's gone, the next one will be here tomorrow. So, okay.
But if it was just okay, maybe give it a second coffee.
I have a chapter in my book called Make the Second Date the Default.
Yeah.
And it's really because I feel like I won the lottery with my husband, but he is somebody that takes longer to open up and he's that slow burn. We met in college, we met again 7 years later, then we were friends for a year. And I feel like he's this incredible partner, husband, father, but I don't know that if we'd met just.
Whoa, man. I can tell you how that relationship is going. They knew each other for 7 years. Then they were off a year. They were friends for a year. Blah, blah, blah. I can tell you who wears the pants in that relationship. It's the woman in the purple pantsuit. She is the one who, well, He probably just wore her down long enough when she got through the college years and the partying, and then she finally said, "Ah, well, I guess this guy, he's a stable guy. He's pretty nice. I mean, I'm through with the bad boys and whatever else. Okay, I'll settle down with him. He's a short king, but
randomly on a first date that I would have gone on a second date. And so I think people really do need to train themselves to look for these slow burns.
Logan, Scott said something there about what he thinks women want, which is these sort of traditional
wow, can you imagine talking about your husband? Yeah, after a long time, he wore me down, and he was just a slow burn, just a slow burner. So that's how I got him. Yeah, I mean, he just kind of here he is, slow chugging along, and I finally said, okay, I guess I'll jump aboard the little engine that could, and here we go. Well, oh my God, wow. What man wants to be talked about like that by his wife? Like, yeah, well, he slowly got me finally. Yeah. Whoa, okay.
masculine features. Is this what you see in the data?
What's hard is I think Scott's right about what people say they want versus stated versus revealed preferences. So according to the research that I did, women are saying the number one thing that they're looking for is kindness and compassion. That's also what men are saying that they're looking for. So in many ways, this is great. People are looking for the same things, but I just feel like there's these huge disconnects now where people don't feel like they can get what they want.
Men are saying they want kindness and compassion.
I made them say, what are all the things that you care about? And then what is the number one thing that you care about? And kindness and compassion was first for both of them.
The stuff I've seen, or the stuff I've read is that for women, and I've talked with men about this, number one is they have to signal resources. And we don't like to say it out loud. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a Range Rover and a
Thank you, Scott. Somebody being real here. I want kindness and compassion. There's all kinds of guys who make 30 grand a year working at some dead end job that are kind and compassionate that would never do and blah, blah. And do they have any women? No, they don't. They don't have many options, do they? They're kind and compassionate, though. If all these women just want kindness and compassion, that's what, at least Scott, he should have just said, no, you're wrong. These women are lying. That's not what they want. But Scott just says, yeah, they need to signal resources. This is the deal.
account right now, but you have a plan, right? You have your shit together. You go home at midnight when everyone's partying because you have to be up for work. You work out, which shows a level of discipline and that you can commit to something. You're in school. You've got a good job. This person is going to have resources. And I don't think that's changed a whole lot. I think a man's ability to signal future resources has gone down. I'm not sure it's become any less of a criteria. Number two is intellect. And it's very instinctual because if you make good decisions for the tribe, your kids are more likely to survive. Someone who's smart is more likely to take care of your offspring than someone who's stupid. What's interesting, and I love this, is the fastest way to communicate intellect is humor. And I joke, and this is bad, but I say, this is my impression of a woman. I'm laughing, I'm naked. And I've always thought if a guy can make a woman laugh, people date him. And then the third thing, and this is where guys screw up. This is what I told
let me pause that. I like that. Signaling intellect by being able to make the woman laugh. Boy, that's good. If there's some incels out there who, looking to up the game a little bit, up the charisma, signaling intellect by making a woman laugh. Ooh, that's good. I like that. Okay.
Tell a guy's secret weapon is it's kindness. Women want to see that you are a good person. You treat service staff well. You're good to your parents. You have manners. You treat people well, even with no reciprocal expectation, because they know that a kind person, if and when she's vulnerable and needs help, and maybe isn't bringing as much to the table for certain periods of time, that this is a kind man. And, sure, you want to do your best to signal resources and have a plan. Sure.
They want a kind man, but here's the caveat. It's not just any kind man. It's a kind man that already meets the things that he's talking about. They've got resources. They're intellectual. They're funny. They're attractive. And if they meet those things, right? If they meet those things, then, kindness is what I really want. Yes, the kindness thing. Yeah. Yeah. As long as they meet the criteria ahead, then it's good. Then kindness is good.
Maybe you're smart, maybe you aren't. There's not a lot you can do there. But the secret weapon, I think, for men that they don't leverage, and I do think it's a practice, is to demonstrate kindness. And we don't talk about that enough as men. It's like, well, okay, it's little things. have good manners,
Mhm.
be thoughtful, follow up with people. And I think that, anyways, those are the three things that I have read women want in men.
Okay, there's so much there. So one is I do think we need a new definition for modern masculinity or mature masculinity or evolved masculinity. And I think that that's why this moment feels
Okay, of course we need a new definition for masculinity. Yes. I mean, of course we do. Because the old definition of masculinity, I mean, we all hate it. It's horrible. I mean, men acting like men. Oh my goodness. So we need a new definition. Okay, here we go.
so painful is that we don't have it. Because I agree with you. I don't think women are saying, I want a feminine man. I think they want a modern masculine man. And so that means somebody who is decisive and can provide, but also somebody who's able to communicate.
Decisive and can provide. That's the old masculinity. There's nothing new about that masculinity here, but okay.
With them emotionally. And so one of the suggestions that I came here today to talk about is this idea of men's groups. So about a year ago, my friend David Clavins, who happens to be a world-class magician, came to my husband and said, I'm going to form this men's group. And so it's about 6 or 7 men, and they meet together monthly, and they have formed this council of peers. So every month that they get together, every guy sits down with Post-it notes and says the 2 issues that are most pressing for him. So first of all, I think that that's a great way of doing it, because it's actually that time to say, what am I struggling with? I think many people in their lives, maybe especially men, don't sit there and say, what's top of mind for me? So guys get the quiet time to do that. Then they go around in a circle, and whoever has the most pressing issue, they get to take their time. And some men might say, these are top of mind for me, but it's not a priority. I'll give the time to someone else. And each month they talk about what's going on for them. They hold each other accountable. So month 3, they might say, hey, David, you've been talking about that for the last 3 months. Are you going to actually do anything about it? And I love that these men have a masculine space to actually go through what's going on for them, because maybe they have wives and girlfriends they can go to. Maybe they don't. But I think it's a different type of advice that you get from a council of trusted peers. And I really do think that men's groups could change a lot of these issues, because I can sit here and say everybody should be in therapy. Guess what? Therapy is really expensive, and many insurance companies will not provide it, or there's a huge waiting list. And so if we just sit around for all these guys to go to therapy, that's not going to happen. But men's groups are a way that men can lead each other. They can provide this tribe of peers. And I have just seen so many changes in this group. So David told me his story where he had a lot of anger about his mom's debilitating illness, and he wasn't really experiencing it. And it was coming out as anger at his mom, but he wasn't conscious of that. But by getting the anger out in a safe place with men, the only place where he felt like he could truly be angry, he was able to get over it and to actually treat his mom with a lot more empathy. Or my husband has gone to the group and talked about ego stuff at work, or how hard the transition to becoming a parent has been. And I feel like the men in this group have grown so much over the 12 months that it's been happening, that I just paid for my brother-in-law to be in a men's group. And I want there to be tons of men's groups, because I really feel like this isn't an issue that a therapist or a mom or I can really solve. I think men need to be solving this problem within themselves.
Wait,
Men, so men need to go to men's groups. Men didn't used to have men's groups. They were just like with other men. They didn't have to go to like a group. Now I agree, this is a great idea. I swear, like, don't these men go to church anywhere? Like, don't I mean, I get together with my church friends for Bible study, and I mean, more than half the Bible study is not even like necessarily studying the Bible. It's just like talking about stuff going on, and then saying, "Hey, all right, I'm going to pray for that for you," yada yada yada, or whatever. Like, do we have to have like formal group? I mean, people used to do this in churches and whatnot. I mean, hopefully the churches are still doing this. It sounds like not, these people, I think they're probably super liberal, so they probably haven't dawned the door of a church in 100 years. But it just seems like a bizarre. Yes, now we need to have men's groups so that they actually talk to other men, because, yeah, they can't. Well, I guess you can't do that at your job because that's so integrated with everybody else and whatever. I don't know. All right. I'm going to end that thought. Let's keep going.
you said is really powerful, because if you walk down the hallway at Stern, there's Golden Seeds, women in venture capital, Black Women's Consulting Club. There are women's support groups. There's nothing for men. And these groups are really wonderful. Man Talks is one that I've been looking at, where they've said, let's get together and just be supportive of each other. And it's a fairly new phenomenon.
I think people are afraid of men gathering because traditionally bad things have happened in that. I mean, gangs. I'm just thinking of like many situations in which, like, once there's a tiki torch, I want there to be some women there, right? Like, so there's a reason why people have been fearful of this. Or it's like when the
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Come on. Get out of here. Oh, men start gathering. Oh, there's a tiki torch. It's the white supremacists that show up. as soon as men start gathering, blah, blah, and men forming gangs. Yeah, you know what other things happen when men start gathering? Yeah, there's like this thing called armies that they like defend the country and stuff like that. And, oh, yeah, that's good. As long as we're like protecting women, then we like it when men gather together. But if they're forming a gang, then we don't know what it is, and so it must be evil, blah blah. I feel like the purple suit lady. I feel like there should be some female insight over these men's groups, though, just to make sure they don't get out of hand. Oh, yeah, okay.
The whole world was a men's group, the men's club. You didn't need to have men's clubs. But I think in this moment, this is a really powerful, organic, grassroots way.
The whole world was a men's club. Oh my, get out of here. Are you kidding me? The whole world was the men's club, meaning most men for all of history were slaves or they got to die in a ditch somewhere in a battlefield, and the women got to stay home with the kids. And I mean, maybe they got taken over by another tribe once they lost the battle, but at least they weren't dying in a ditch somewhere. And oh yes, it was all just a big men's club for all of time, and the women were just so used like chattel, blah blah blah. Get out of here. Come on.
For men to change. So I imagine that you have group chats with men that are your peers that you go to for advice. And I feel like there's men out there that don't have that. And we are meant to make decisions by getting advice from other people. I personally have a board of directors that in my life, when I'm going to make a big decision, I meet with them. So when I took my last job, when I decided to move, all of these different things, I meet with my board of directors and I say, what am I not seeing? What are my blind spots? And they've given me.
When I took my last job and I decided to move, I went to my board of directors to know if I should do that. And she's married to an awesome short king that she said is just so wonderful. You think she would go to her husband and ask these questions and get his approval of them, not to her board of directors. Okay, so we clearly know who runs her marriage, and it's her. That, okay, that is very clear now.
A lot of good and hard advice. And I think we all need to be building our own board of directors. And for men, that might be this men's group.
Well, we'll stop the video there. I mean, I guess, I thought they were going to have more advice for, an incel type of guy, a guy who wants a wife and is not having good luck in the modern day doing that. Now, there's a couple things passed out there, but I don't know. It wasn't great. Here's, I guess we can recap. Signal resources, meaning you got to have some money. Then being in shape. I think he mentioned that, like, well, yes, if you're in shape, that signals that you can be responsible, keep a schedule, do something, repetitively so that you're in shape, blah, blah. So being in shape, hey, that's a good one. And being intelligent, meaning you can make a woman laugh. That is a good thing. You're good at talking. You're good at making them laugh, things like that. Hey, that's good advice too. I like this advice to the younger men. Probably the only other thing you'd really have to decide is where do you get these the high quality women at? That's a big question as well. I'm gonna have to put out some more videos about my thoughts on that. Like, okay, in the modern day, boy, where would you go about getting a high quality woman? In America, I mean, not moving somewhere else, but in America, I know there's a lot of stuff on that. What are some thoughts there? We got to get people married up, and we got to get them forming families, and we got to get this trend turned around. Lowest marriage rate 2024 on record. We got to get that turned around, and we will get it turned around in the church because Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Post Millennial Man.